May tightened the fraying ropes of her small, worn-out tent as the wind tugged at its sides. Her 3 children, Lee, 8, Ja, 6, and little Ming, just 3, huddled close to her, shivering despite the thin blankets she wrapped around them. Since her husband's passing, life had become an endless struggle. Every day was a battle against hunger, cold, and exhaustion. She scavenged for firewood, fetched water from the nearby stream, and tried to keep the children fed and healthy, but it never felt like enough. As she worked to prop up the sagging tent pole, a shadow passed over the campsite. May looked up to see a man on horseback, his wide-brimmed hat shielding his eyes from the sun. He rode slowly, observing the fragile structure and the small family huddled together. When he dismounted and approached, May instinctively stepped back, wary of strangers. But the man's calm demeanor and gentle voice immediately put her at ease. "That tent isn't safe for you or the children," he said. "You'll sleep under a roof tonight." May blinked, startled. She wasn't used to kindness from strangers, especially one who could easily ride past without a second thought. Her children peeked from behind her, curious and unsure. The man introduced himself as Tom, a rancher who lived nearby. He didn't demand anything from her, nor did he judge her situation. Instead, he extended a simple offer: a warm place to sleep, protection from the harsh weather, and a moment of relief from constant worry. For the first time in months, May allowed herself to hope. She glanced at her children, whose eyes were wide with cautious excitement, and nodded. They gathered their meager belongings, following Tom toward the distant ranch, leaving behind the fragile tent that had been their home and stepping into a future that promised safety, warmth, and perhaps, a new beginning. Tom led May and her children across the dusty trail toward his ranch, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows over the rolling hills. May clutched the small bundle of belongings she had managed to gather over the years, feeling a mixture of gratitude and unease. She had spent so long surviving on her own that accepting help felt foreign, almost frightening. But as they approached the ranch, the sight of the small wooden cabin, smoke curling gently from its chimney, filled her with a warmth she hadn't felt in months. The children ran ahead, their bare feet kicking up dust as they approached the cabin with wide eyes. Tom opened the door and gestured inside, and May's heart lifted at the sight: neatly made beds, a crackling fireplace, and shelves stocked with supplies. For Lee, Ja, and little Ming, it was a wonderland. For May, it was a sanctuary. She hesitated at the threshold, unsure if it was right to step into someone else's home. But Tom simply smiled, a quiet reassurance in his eyes. "No one should be sleeping in a tent in this weather," he said. As the children explored their new surroundings, May allowed herself to breathe. The cabin was modest, but it was safe, warm, and welcoming. She could already imagine mornings where the children would eat breakfast at the table rather than sitting on cold ground, evenings where they would sleep through the night without fear of the wind tearing their shelter apart. Tom showed her how to stoke the fire and offered her a soft blanket. That night, as the children drifted into sleep, May sat by the fire, letting its warmth seep into her bones. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope. Here, under this roof, she realized that life could begin anew, not just for her children, but for her as well. Over the next few days, May slowly began to adjust to life on the ranch. Tom gave her space to settle in while quietly offering guidance whenever she needed it. He showed her how to gather eggs from the hens, tend to the vegetable garden, and help with simple chores around the cabin. May found comfort in the rhythm of daily work and began to feel capable again, realizing that she could contribute meaningfully rather than simply surviving. The children, too, thrived in the open space, running freely across the fields and laughing in ways May hadn't heard in years. Lee and Ja quickly formed a bond with Tom, following him as he fed the animals or repaired fences. Ming, shy at first, clung to May but gradually warmed to the rancher's gentle presence. Each day brought a new lesson or adventure, learning how to milk a cow, spot wildflowers along the trail, or watch the sunset behind the distant hills. The tent, once a symbol of struggle and uncertainty, became a small play area near the cabin, a reminder of the family's past hardships but no longer a place of fear. May found herself smiling more often, her worries gradually softening under the steady kindness that surrounded her. She shared meals with Tom, exchanging stories about her late husband and the life she once led, while he spoke of the ranch, the animals, and the quiet satisfaction of working with one's hands. Their conversations were simple, yet each word built trust and understanding. By the end of the week, May realized that her family had begun to flourish in ways she hadn't dared to imagine. The children were happy, healthy, and safe, and she herself felt a renewed sense of purpose. With Tom's guidance and a roof over their heads, May finally allowed herself to believe that life could be gentle, that kindness existed, and that her small family could truly belong somewhere. One afternoon, dark clouds rolled across the horizon, and a sudden storm swept over the ranch. May quickly gathered the children and ushered them into the cabin, closing the door against the gusting wind and the heavy rain that began to pelt the roof. Lightning flashed across the sky, followed by the low rumble of thunder, and May held the little ones close, feeling the force of the storm shake the wooden walls. She remembered the nights spent in the flimsy tent, when even a light rain could leave them soaked and shivering. Now, though, she felt a deep sense of security. The children clung to her, their wide eyes reflecting fear and awe, and May did her best to soothe them. She lit a small lantern, and its warm glow filled the room, casting comforting shadows on the walls. She spoke softly to them, telling stories of sunny days ahead and adventures yet to come, while the wind howled outside. For the first time, May realized how vulnerable they had once been, and how much Tom's kindness had changed their lives. Hours passed, and the storm gradually subsided, leaving the ranch wet but intact. May peeked outside to see the muddy fields and bent trees, but the cabin had stood firm. Relief washed over her, and she thought of how different things might have been if they were still in the tent, exposed to the full force of nature. When Tom returned later that evening, drenched but smiling, May could hardly contain her gratitude. She thanked him quietly, feeling emotions she hadn't allowed herself to feel in months: safety, peace, and hope. That night, as the children slept soundly in their warm beds, May sat by the fire and reflected on the storm. It had reminded her of life's unpredictability, but also of the strength that came from shelter, support, and compassion. She finally felt a sense of permanence. Her family had a home, and for the first time, she truly believed they could thrive. Months passed, and May's family had fully settled into life on the ranch. The children woke each morning to the sound of roosters crowing and sunlight spilling through the cabin windows. Lee and Ja ran freely across the fields, helping with small chores and laughing with the animals, while little Ming toddled behind, giggling at every new discovery. May had grown more confident each day, learning the rhythms of ranch life and realizing she could provide for her children in ways she never imagined possible. Tom remained a steady presence, offering guidance without ever imposing. He respected May's independence while ensuring her family had everything they needed. Together, they repaired fences, tended the garden, and prepared meals, each task bringing them closer together. May felt a growing sense of belonging, and the initial hesitation she had felt when stepping into the cabin had long vanished. The children called Tom, Uncle Tom, and he responded with patient care and gentle encouragement, creating a bond that filled the cabin with warmth and laughter. May often reflected on the journey that had brought them here, from the cold nights in the fragile tent to the security of the ranch. She realized that accepting help had not been a sign of weakness, but a doorway to a better life. Her children were thriving, happy, and safe, and she felt a profound sense of gratitude for the kindness that had altered the course of their lives. One quiet evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, May watched her children playing in the yard, their laughter ringing through the air. She breathed deeply, feeling the calm of the ranch settle around her like a blanket. For the first time since her husband's passing, she felt truly at home. With a gentle smile, she whispered to herself, "We're finally home," knowing that they had found not just shelter, but a place where hope, love, and family could grow.